Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And today we bring you another round of the evening headlines as Richarlison is a done deal. Contracts agreed, everything signed, done deal. We'll be talking a bit on Lenglet, Jed Spence, Tielemans, a little bit on Harry Winks, actually. A bit of a funny report coming out about that one today about due diligence. I mean, I couldn't wrap my head around that one. But, of course, we are joined by, of course, co-host Jack Kinnicky. And, as always, I call him transfer expert, Matt Hayes. But, look, I think we'll just crack straight into the news, Jacko.
Yeah, I guess we just start with everybody wanting to talk about Richarlison. And we left off last night telling you that the full agreement between Richarlison's representatives and Tottenham on personal terms, long-term contract was agreed with his new agents waiting to complete the deal with Everton's having now new direct contact scheduled soon to discuss deal between the two clubs. Today, Fabrizio Romano has given the here we go, saying Tottenham have reached an agreement with Richarlison on a permanent deal. Here we go. First part of the paperwork's now signed with Everton after full agreement on personal terms. The fee will be agreed at £50 million plus add-ons. Richarlison on his way for medical tests in Brazil. Done deal. He then later went on to tweet saying that Chelsea made an attempt to hijack the Richarlison deal before the agreement between Everton and Tottenham had been in place since this morning. And now he said £60 million. And then he also then went on to say that Spurs do, in fact, have full agreement between Everton and Richarlison on personal terms, just waiting for medical in Brazil and player signature. David Ornstein quickly from The Athletic saying Everton believed to have rejected an original £40 million Spurs bid for Richarlison yesterday before the offer was raised significantly. Another club showed late interest, but Tottenham on track as talks continue to close, deal in the coming days. And then Fabrizio Romano also confirmed that Chelsea did, in fact, try to hijack that deal. Paul O'Keefe finally has also come to report that who is an FA registered agent. Paul O'Keefe has gone out and said that Richarlison's medical has already been completed, I believe, in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. But Maddie, now we are just basically waiting for the official announcement from the club. And when do you think that'll probably be?
I think it'll be tomorrow. I'll be quite surprised if it's not. Bruno Andrade, or was it Reza? It was either Bruno Andrade or Reza Simplicia. One of the tier 1 Brazilian sources says that the Tottenham are already working on the announcement, and we know that the move for Steven Bergwijn, Ajax are hoping to get that through on or after July 1st, which is of course tomorrow. Tottenham want that replacement before he goes, so I think this is one that will be wrapped up this week, wrapped up as soon as possible, not only to allow that kind of domino effect to come into action, but also so Tottenham can focus on the other targets, the Lenglet, the Spences, and I'm sure we'll talk about those later. But yeah, I think I think we're probably just at the formality stage at the moment, and it seems as though there was an agreement with Richarlison a good few days back, maybe as early as Monday, but then it was just trying to get the final details of that deal with Everton over the line. Agreement was reached late last night, early this morning, and now we're just we're getting to that point where we can see him holding up the jersey, as Bob Spur will be looking forward to.
Do you think you have an accurate maybe sort of guess or maybe sort of guesstimation on maybe the price? Because I've seen everything from £50 million, from Fabrizio to £60 million, and I forget which one is including add-ons, which one isn't. Maybe you can clear it up for us if you have, any sort of guess as to what maybe the price might be.
Yeah, so they're both right. I mean, it is £50 million up front with £10 million in add-ons. I don't think it's been released what those add-ons are, whether they're performance-based or whether they're guaranteed add-ons. I would assume they're guaranteed because Everton were reluctant to accept the 60 million as it was. Probably just had to because of their financial situation. So 50 rising to 60 would probably be the most accurate way to describe it.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matty. Do you think the price tag, David, went up for Richarlison because of Chelsea's late interest? Was it maybe something like a Luis Diaz situation that we actually had with Liverpool where, in fact, we were the ones trying to hijack the deal and Liverpool were actually the long-term sort of suitors of the player? Do you think maybe the price went up because of Chelsea's, maybe hijacking?
Yeah, 100%, Jack. I do think the price went up. Look, at the end of the day, Everton have the financial fair play that they had to meet. I believe the deadline was the day they had to meet that. So they would have wanted, as much as they could have got for Richarlison. Look, me personally, I think it was reported that they rejected a 40 million bid from Tottenham. I do think, though, with Chelsea's late interest, and I actually believe they were kind of a bit balked, bit hesitant with the fee that Everton were actually demanding for him, that they actually wanted to offer a player plus cash deal. But for me, look, it is what it is, Jack. At the end of the day, it was rumoured that Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich were also maybe looking into this guy. And for me, at the end of the day, you've got to pay the money. And I know some people are maybe a bit disappointed at the sort of transfer fee for a player that is not guaranteed to start here. But if you look over at Liverpool, they didn't need Diogo Jota. They didn't need Diaz. But yet they still went and paid the money to get them in. And look at the amount of minutes that they've been getting since they've joined. So this guy will play. So it's not like we're spending money on a guy that won't see minutes. He will. And I'm absolutely delighted to be in this position. Did we slightly overpay? Look, maybe. But at the end of the day, Jack, if you want your man, you've got to get him. You've got to pay.
I think I'm probably, being a bit defending here at the price. I'll honestly say most strikers these days are going some pretty hefty fees, if you ask me. Even also the evaluations of a lot of strikers are pretty hefty. I believe that move that, Osimhen went to Napoli, that was a ridiculous fee at the time. I think it was something around 60 to 70 million euros. Could have been more. He's also valued at around that, if not higher. Lautaro Martinez is probably valued close to like 90 million to 100 million. Vlahovic went for a huge price. You also are seeing Darwin Nunez go for a huge price. If you ask me, even if you don't think, Richarlison is near a 60 million pound evaluation, you have to take into consideration that strikers these days are probably a bit more of a rarity when it comes to, the top 4 level strikers that actually can make it into a top 4 team. They seem to be a bit more rare these days. So the price might be a bit inflated.
Yeah, and look, I just want to add as well. I mean, you look at Arsenal, who got in Gabriel Jesus. You look at that guy. He's not someone that would be able to, lead the line. The guy wouldn't even lead a conga line at a wedding, Jack. He literally wouldn't. You look at him. There's a reason why Pep Guardiola played him outright. There's a reason why he went without a striker, because the guy cannot lead the line. You look at someone like Richarlison, big, strong, powerful, good in the air, can attack crosses, run in behind. He's aggressive. This guy can actually lead a line. So in terms of the value of the money that was spent, I actually think we got the better player. And at decent value. You're right, Jack. Strikers are very hard to come by, especially strikers that can lead that line on their own. Back in the day, it used to be 2 strikers up front, but you'd also have 2 on the bench. You could play a little big man. But nowadays, you need sort of like a guy that is more or less 6 foot plus, someone that can handle themselves, because you're asking them to lead the line on their own, and that's what Richarlison can bring to Tottenham. So I think in terms of comparing it to Gabriel Jesus, I think we got a brilliant signing just purely because this guy can lead the line. Jesus needs people to feed him.
Absolutely. And Matty, just quickly for him, do you feel like Richarlison is going to live up to that price tag? Is that price tag a worry to you? Is it something that bothers you? Or is it kind of like, me, where I just feel like that's just kind of what strikers go for these days?
I think we wouldn't have gotten a player of that quality or with that Premier League experience for the same price. There's different reports from Italy that we were going to make a bid for Lautaro Martinez. It was a lot higher than what we're paying for Richarlison. I think regardless maybe of what Tottenham fans might think of that valuation, the simple fact of the matter is we got him for less than what Everton would have wanted. And the value of any player, you can debate their age, their contract, their, if they're like a left-sided centre-back, the demand against supply and all that sort of stuff. Ultimately, the value of a player is what the selling team want for him. Everton would have taken much more than 60 million. They weren't happy with 60 million, so I think we have to be glad with that. It is not a negative thing, but a confusing thing for me that Tottenham are paying 60 million for a forward who isn't going to be first choice. And again, I don't want to use the word backup or a sub striker or whatever, because there is going to be so much rotation within that front line. And I don't believe Richarlison would have come if he thought he was going to be, just there for if somebody else gets injured. So from that side of things, it may be a lot of money to pay for someone who isn't going to be starting every game. But that's a good thing for me. That's a statement of intent from what this Tottenham setup are trying to do, what we want to achieve, and where we think we're going in the near future. So I said when this first came about that I didn't want Richarlison for 60 million. But now that we've got him, I'm kind of really excited. And I can't wait to see him in that Spurs jersey for the first time.
Beautifully explained, Matty. Beautifully explained. Dark Sun G here with the super chat saying, this window is amazing. Getting the aces of the two of our Premier League opponents is massive. Richarlison and Basuma are going to be massive this season. Richarlison is good at headers as well, which is needed for us. 5 more signings, please. Dark Sun G, I think he originally predicted 8 signings. It looks like he actually might be correct, and you proved me wrong there, Dark Sun G. But Dave, I think I've heard people say this before, like we're kind of going with the Ferguson, sort of kind of, routine, buy the best players from, the teams that are kind of lower down the table.
Yeah, and look, it's something that, Tottenham haven't exactly gone after before. They've done pieces of business. I mean, look, we got Moussa Dembele from Fulham. You know what I mean? Look how well that one worked out. Robbie Keane, Jermaine Defoe, Peter Crouch. It's always kind of worked out in a fair. Yes, you could pick out a few that maybe haven't worked out. But look, you look at even the type of the signings, Basuma, Richarlison, like big, strong, physical, aggressive men. Conte is building a team of lean, mean, winning machines, Jack. That's what he's doing. Everyone's 6 foot plus, steamroll over teams. Teams are going to find it absolutely nasty to play against us next season. But with Richarlison, Jack, I've watched him for Everton as well, and he's very good at attacking crosses that come into the box, which maybe we don't actually currently have, and we don't really put too many crosses in the box. But with Paratici out one side, there will be balls coming into the box. And against low block teams where we can't play through them, get the ball out wide, get the ball in the box, get Richarlison on the pitch, and let him go and attack it. And for me, I think everything we're trying to do here with the likes of Basuma, Richarlison, it's given us different options in them in them teams that played low block. Like in the midfield, we didn't really have anybody that could take 2-3 players out of the game, run with the ball. Basuma can do that. So with the signings we're making, they're very clever. It covers a lot of our problems along with that set piece, coach. And I have a sneaky feeling. I'm going early here. I have a habit going early. People laughing at me and then not coming back and telling me, do you know what, Dave, you said this. But I think with the set piece, coach, we get another couple of nice transfers in here. With what we've already done, we will close that 22-point gap we finished by Man City last season.
Whoa, Dave. I mean, everybody just sit back, let that settle after Dave just said that. But Dark Sun G, I know you're going to be in Dave's camp when it comes to that prediction. I know you will be, my man, and you'll be defending him in that boat as well. Big up, Dark Sun G. Appreciate the support, my man. Coot Luano also becoming a Flat Cap member, Dave. And he's saying, man, I've been struggling to join as a member. Love your content, boys. May God bless y'all. Thank you. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Coot Luano.
Absolute legend. Absolute legend. Look, we're well aware out there that there are people that just can't afford it. The people are struggling out there. It's a nasty world. Don't ever feel under pressure that you have to. It's only ever an option there. As you know here, we do try our best to get every single person's comment up on screen. But if you do want us to go into a really good discussion on it, engage with what we're talking about, and you want to highlight your comment and skip the queue or the chat that can get very busy. Like right now with 480 people, the super chat is the way to go, guys. But like I said, we will try and bring everybody's comments up. But everybody smash that like button. Let's get the likes up on it. Big up, Catlano. Absolute legend, my man. Big yourself up.
Dermot with a GG super sticker. I think he's probably talking about the FIFA games he was playing on Tottenham Gold last night and all the people he was smashing with the Spurs crest on. Big up, Dermot. Everybody check out his channel. Check out the FIFA content that's been coming up. Absolutely saying GG to every single team, Dermot. Big yourself up, brother. And then Dark Sun G saying, I wanted Richarlison before he came to Korea with Brazil. I think he's probably talking about maybe that Olympics or something. Is he talking about that Olympic run that maybe he had?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Was the Olympics in Korea? I'm not so sure.
I thought it was in Japan. I thought it was in Japan, the Olympics, but maybe the games were being played. The football games might have been.
At the end of the day, there was a lot of fans that wanted him when he was at Watford. You could already see with the aggression and the way he stood up at such a young age. Spurs fans were looking at him since Watford. We had comments on the video, people coming out and saying, I wanted this guy when he was at Watford. And look, I'm delighted we got him because, like I said, for me, he's one of my favourite outside of Tottenham in the Premier League.
Love that, Dave. And then Avi Master celebrating 6 months as a Flat Cap member, saying big up all of you lads. Great show. Big yourself up, Avi Master. Absolute legend. Appreciate it. And also 6 months as a member as well. Top notch. And then last one from Dark Sun G. Maddie, what number do you think Richarlison will wear for Spurs? Is he going to become our own R9?
I think he takes number 9. Yeah, he kind of has to, right? I mean, I know it's probably
I'd love to.
a number. It's more typically associated with like your starter, your absolute out and out striker. But no, I think he wears number 7 at Everton now. I suppose when he first went there, he wore number 30. So maybe if that's available, if that's a number with personal significance to him, he could take that. Yeah, no, I'd love to see him at number 9 though. I'd love the R9. Yeah, Tottenham's on R9.
That would be
R9, Dark Sun G. There you are, my man.
I just want to add one thing in as well with Richarlison before we move on to the next piece of news, because we've done a lot on Richarlison over the last few days. But we have to remember, like, I know some people are maybe I do see some Spurs fans a bit unhappy with the signing, maybe the price tag. But we've been screaming for a backup, and this guy has been better than Vinicius, Llorente, Janssen, and Soldado. And it's about time Spurs acted in this way in the market. And I'm super excited to see what he can bring.
Big up Dark Sun G, big up Dermot, and also really appreciate all the support from all of you. And really also everybody, just keep getting your comments in, keep hitting that like button. We are going to move away though from Richarlison, and we are going to move in to a bit of the Clement Lenglet sort of news as well, because that is also someone who's kind of expected to be signed very soon. And the latest news on Clement Lenglet is, according to The Athletic, Spurs are close to sealing a loan agreement, which will see Lenglet swap Barcelona for Tottenham Hotspur in the 2022-23 season. Fabrizio Romano said Daniel Levy and Joan Laporta have held positive talks for Lenglet, and a loan deal has been agreed until 2023, but are yet to come to an agreement on salary, the cost of the loan. But Lenglet is ready to become a Tottenham player once the details are sorted out. There will be a here we go. It just seems like Daniel Levy just delaying the negotiations slightly longer. But Maddie, while Lenglet may be an underwhelming, kind of signing for left-sided center back, why do you think maybe Paratici has sort of all of a sudden maybe settled, with Lenglet as the loan deal?
That kind of concerns me to some extent, because I kind of felt all along
maybe
that.
Is what I'm trying to say. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say he panicked, but it could be a very early admittance that we're not going to get my absolute pleasure, Bobby K. My absolute pleasure. I would have thought that Lenglet would be, if we didn't get Bastoni, if we didn't get Towers, we didn't get Vardiol, we didn't get Ndika, we didn't get Nkapie, really far down that line, that there was just no other option there, that we could then have gone back and Lenglet, as that kind of contingency plan, pulled the trigger on that. I think Alistair Gold said something very similar during the week, but now what Alistair Gold has said is we're bringing him in with the view to looking at Bastoni or Vardiol again in the future, whether that's 6 months in January or next summer, whatever it is. So I'm still not entirely convinced that he is our starting centre-back. We do want to bring in 2. There will be ideally there will be another centre-back coming in this summer. One is going to be a backup who can play kind of across the whole back 3, and one is going to be that main left centre-back choice. So Lenglet is one of those. It's hard to guess which one it is. I personally would think that he's the backup centre-back, but it's potentially more realistic that he is that starting left centre-back. And it's not the end of the world. He's not the worst centre-back out there. I've seen some compilations on Twitter of people showing like just his worst defensive moments ever, which you can make any player look bad like that. I'll put together a compilation of Harry Kane in the first 2 months of the season, and all of a sudden we'd be begging to go out and get Saido Berahino again. So it's easy to make people look good or bad with these, but what Lenglet does have is something that's really, really important to what Tottenham need from their wide centre-backs, which is that ball-playing ability. And Lenglet has some of the best passing stats of centre-backs in European football. And that, have your opinions, have your kind of objective, subjective, whatever it is, ideas on how well the player will do, but it is fact that he is one of the best ball-playing centre-backs in Europe. You can caveat that by saying he's played fewer minutes, so maybe the stats are a bit skewed in that regard, but he has some of the best pass completion for long, medium, and short range passes. He's good with passes under pressure. He's good at passes into the final third, progressive passes, progressive carries as well. So he's going to add so much to our ability to play out from the back, which you could argue was something that Ben Davies was slightly lacking on last season. So it's not exactly a bad thing if he is that starting left centre back. The only concern I would have is the defensive ability and his kind of his lack of ability to read the game and kind of be one step ahead. Like with someone like Christian Romero, it's happened time and time again. I remember so clearly that after we scored that winner against Manchester City at the Etihad, City went right down the other end, right-hand side, brilliant ball across the face of goal, and Romero was in the absolute perfect position to clear that away and win the game for us. Lenglet doesn't seem to have that that kind of knowledge. He's not a second or two ahead like some of the best defenders are. So there is definitely a concern on that side. But where I'm kind of bringing optimism and positivity from those kind of attributes of what Langley has. You can't teach someone to be cool, calm, composed in possession. You can't teach someone to have the vision, for example, that Langley has. You can't teach people how to defend. You can teach positioning. You can coach that. And Antonio Conte is probably one of the best at doing that. So maybe he's brought in someone who has the uncoachables to fix the rest of him, rather than another alternative option, which may be the opposite, where you're bringing in a good defender but who just can't play on the ball. So that's what my hope is, but it's definitely the riskiest deal we've completed so far, and only time will tell really how it's going to pan out.
You mentioned, another center back, being, kind of, still brought in. I think, you've more or less have confirmed, the reports from Ali Gold saying that, Spurs fans, don't panic. We're still going to sign another center back. And you kind of said, where the confusion really is like, is Langley more of that, general backup for most of the, center back positions? Or is he maybe seen as, the temporary starting left-sided center back ahead of Ben Davies? And I guess we'll find out. If you were to make maybe a guess, Maddie, are we going to maybe go after another left-footed center back of sorts? Are we going to go after maybe someone completely different, like a Bremer, or something like that? How do you, I guess, I don't know if but how do you maybe see Spurs, pursuing that second center back? What type of player do you think they might go after?
I mean, I suppose we could go after either, right? I mean, we know how Paratici likes to work, where he's going to negotiate for so many different targets. Maybe bringing Langley in, I was thinking on the spot here, but maybe bringing in Langley as that contingency plan, having that over the line before we know what we really need from him, gives us more kind of flexibility in what we can do. Like, we can negotiate for a Vardiol. I'm not saying him specifically, but that type of player. We can negotiate for a left centre back while also negotiating for a centre back, knowing whichever one we get, we already have a player who's able to step into the other position. So maybe it is actually a much smarter move than I'm giving credit for. Look, I'll be honest, every move Paratici makes is absolute genius in my book. But maybe that does offer us, or give us, a little bit more versatility in how we're going to pursue the rest of the window. And with 10 days before the players report for preseason duty, maybe we do need to get a move on with the other deals. And maybe this is just another stroke of absolute genius from the Don himself.
I just want to quickly add that I have this strange feeling that maybe Paratici, he realizes that, preseason is about to start. The Korea trip is only, a week away. He maybe sort of knew that, Langley was the sort of fallback plan, and he didn't want to maybe break that promise that he probably made to Antonio Conte about getting the positions that he had asked for before preseason and before, the Korea trip. And if that meant maybe settling for less, or less quality, maybe what I mean, in the case of perhaps a Langley or a Jed Spence, it seems like maybe Paratici has done that, I don't know, maybe just to honor the agreement that he at least had with Antonio Conte about at least having him. I sort of called it new toys to play with, in the case of a right wing back, a center back, a midfielder, a striker, a left wing back. He just has new players to work with, new players to experiment with. In some cases, it's quality players. In other cases, maybe a bit more project, kind of, or temporary players. But at least he has players to work with, and he's not working with the same players that he had before. And I think we can all, take solace in that.
I keep stressing this. It's important that you don't keep letting this guy keep working with the same players from last season.
Correct.
Because you have to keep rotating. And I'm going to keep saying this until it happens. And I've been stressing this. 2 defenders, one that can play centre, one that can play left, is absolutely crucial. And that's purely because Davies got Nuno sacked. And these players have also been a part of getting Jose, Conte, and Nuno, or Jose, Nuno, and Pochettino all sacked. And with Conte and how demanding it is, one of them will end up getting pissed off. Some might not just be able to keep up with it. You've heard Gary Neville talk about it, Ashley Young talk about it. And it's important because we can't run the risk of going into the season not having adequate backup. One of them end up dropping out. And then Davinson Sanchez, who cannot pass a ball 5 yards, ends up coming in, and we can't play out from the back. And also, I think Lenglet will actually come in. I think he'll displace Ben Davies, to be honest with you. I think Conte will want to start playing on the front foot, especially in the Premier League. Get someone in there with a bit of a better of a passing range. But if you also look at, and I know some people are skeptical, but look what Conte has done with Dyer and Davies last season. All Lenglet needs is a little bit of love. Conte will give that to him. And I reckon he will get even more out of Lenglet than anybody else has done before. And I even think when it comes to Richarlison, I think you'll see the best numbers in terms of Richarlison's career to date with goals and assists. This is the effect Conte has. Look what he's got out of bang average players. We got a result out of Liverpool earlier on in the season with Winks and Dele Alli in midfield.
Yeah.
This guy is an absolute magician, and he will get Lenglet going. And I reckon, look, I think he'll come in and start ahead of Davies. I know so many people love Davies, but you can't be blind to his passing stats. They're not exactly like other players out there are better suited to what we need. You need someone that can match Romero, but over on the left-hand side in terms of on the ball, and hopefully Lenglet will bring that.
Definitely. And, I think also Maddie, crucially mentioned, though, that Lenglet is still a temporary signing. If it doesn't go that well, he'll be sent back to Barcelona. I believe also the option to buy might be actually exceptionally cheap, if I'm not mistaken, too.
I think some of the reports are saying 6 million loan fee and then a 6 million option to buy, which would be 12 million to get him in permanently.
I think it might have been you, Maddie. It was you, Maddie, or someone mentioned to me today. It might have been you that said Cameron Carter-Vickers, I believe, was sold for more than that. So we've essentially bought, long CCV.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'd nearly just go and pay him now just because we're loaded. I'd nearly just go and pay. Just basically, put your cocks on the table. How big is it? You know what I mean? That's basically what I'd be doing right now. And
maybe not for a Lenglet deal, perhaps for a different sort of deal. That sort of metaphor is, accurate, Dave. But I like the mentality. But just quickly, Maddie, do you think, this Lenglet deal, is it going to be sort of wrapped up this weekend? Because Daniel Levy was mentioned, in the negotiations. And I think people do want probably maybe some sort of clarity if you're able to offer it. Do you think it's going to be done probably this weekend at some stage?
I think a kind of trend we're getting with this window is Levy is dealing with the deals in England. So we know he's leading the Spence one. Some reports today suggest that Levy and Bill Kenwright actually nearly came to blows within the Everton Richarlison negotiations. He was out for dinner with Kenwright on Monday, so I'd hazard a guess that until the idea of Levy fighting someone in the middle of a restaurant. Until Andy Scolding comes in, maybe Levy is leading the English negotiations. So I would suggest then that Paratici is in charge of the Lenglet one, which, to be honest, doesn't make it more likely that it'll be done, because for all we know, Lenglet could be ready to take a photo with the picture, and Paratici goes, "Oh, by the way, your smokescreen, here's Bastoni," that sort of thing. But yeah, from what we're hearing, I would expect Lenglet to be done tomorrow, if not Monday.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dark Sun G with the super chat saying the friendly match 3 weeks ago of Korea versus Brazil. Yeah. Sorry, Dark Sun G. I thought you were actually talking about the Olympics where Richarlison had that incredible spell of form, and he was honestly one of the main guys in that Olympic winning team. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Korea might have even gone pretty far, I believe, in the Olympics as well. So that's what I thought maybe you were talking about. But that friendly match, he must have really impressed Dark Sun G over there.
Yeah. No, look, Richarlison I'm telling you now, just have a bit of faith in the guy. Well, look, us Spurs fans, and it comes from a place of hate, disappointment, upset, and everything else. But we've been writing off Paratici before he got here. Some
Speak
people
for
wrote
yourself.
I'm speaking in general. What I've seen. Some people wrote off Romero. Look, Emerson, you could say they called that right. Kulu and Bentancur were rejects before they got here. We have to sit here and realize that only a year ago, before Paratici came into this club, look at the direction we're going in compared to a year later, and everything he's done within that year and the direction we're going. Look at the quality of the players we're bringing in this door, back to back to back to back. As a Spurs fan, name me a period over your lifetime where you've seen it that consistent without having a Kudu or Clinton NG thrown in the transfer window. Let's just stop writing some of these players off and give them a chance. Paratici has got a lot more of them right than what he has done wrong. So let's just give these signings a chance.
Love that, Dave. Love that. Daniel Hammond with the super chat saying early links, but Tielemans is the Fox's best player. Perhaps maybe not this most recent season, but maybe in seasons past. I would actually make a crazy argument that Dewsbury Hall, I actually thought Daniel was one of their better players this season. I thought he was pretty solid, but James Maddison, you really can't look away from. That guy probably had, I think, the best season he's probably ever had, I think, in his career, if I'm not mistaken. James Maddison most recently. So I like the Tielemans love, though, my man. Big up, though. Appreciate the support. Tottenham Gold saying, I can see us matching the double winning side. So excited. I think Dermot said this is also the first time he's ever felt this sort of kind of jitters, these sort of butterflies ahead of a season before since the 80s, which is only the highest of compliments, I must say. And this guy knows his stuff as well. Yeah. Big up, Dermot.
Big up, Dermotron. Big up, my man. Absolute legend.
Philip Brady in the house, the Godfather, saying Paratici is now showing what an asset he is to Spurs. He has revolutionized our transfer policies, and his signings mean we are genuine contenders. I mean, Philip Brady is now, impressed by what the Don has already done. I think he's already called him the Don before, but Philip is just, making it clear to the chat from one Godfather to another. He's, making it clear that, he recognized Paratici's game.
I've been at it all day today on Twitter. I've been putting up things, a picture of Paratici winking. Is it safe to call him a Don yet? I put up another one. Spurs fans, we need transfers. Paratici, keep my espresso warm, and someone sprinting down the driveway. Look, I don't care if you don't want to call him a Don. Look, like I said, it all comes from a place of distrust of what Tottenham have done, the hurt, the lies, the disappointments from before. But even if you don't want to call him a Don, just recognize the good that he's done for this club. That's all I ask. Just give the man the credit and recognize the good that he has done for this club. Look where we were a year ago. Conference League, heading down one direction, and that was downwards. He made 2 signings, along with bringing in Conte, top 4, and now look at the signings coming in the door. Just recognize the work he's doing. That's all I ask.
He's breaking all the bad habits as well, Philip Brady. I've talked about this before.
Do you know why? I was actually thinking about this today, So look, Jack, we famously called him a Don, and it was brought up, everywhere, exploded. We made him the most talked about director of football across the world, and everyone keeps, every time you tune in, is he a Don? Is he not a Don? And all season long, because we weren't getting top 4, and some people didn't, some fans didn't trust the signings. It was always, well, is he a Don when you look at this, that, and the other? So now I ask you, change it. Now that he has gotten the signings, now that we have got top 4, and now that the quality of the signings are coming in, now recognize what he's done good. You were all criticizing him last year. He's scrutinizing his signings, scrutinizing Conte, scrutinizing Nuno and everything else, and everything Paratici has done. And no one thought we would get top 4. So now I ask you, scrutinize it now and just come back and be honest and just admit the good that he's done for this football club. It's all I ask.
Just admit that Paratici, he feels good, everybody. He feels good in our arms. He feels good running this football club. But he's changing the habits, Philip Brady. We're buying early now. We're going big. We're not, doing as many bidding wars. We're not buying young. We're buying proven. So many of the bad habits in the past have changed, Philip Brady, and it's good to see it. And I like to see that you're recognizing from one Godfather to another as well.
Game recognizes game, Jack.
Exactly. Bobby K saying, 3 Spurs boys, you beautiful people. $3 for 3 Spurs boys, you beautiful people. Kids pump. Big up, Bobby K. And everybody, check out the really recent streams they've been putting out. Some really good ones with members of the community, of the Spurs community, as well as interviews with Ali Gold, Ramon Vega. It's getting a bit crazy over there. They're getting high profile celebrities, over at the 3 Spurs boys. So everybody, they're also turning into, practically the best interviewers in the business. I must say, they really put you to the grill in certain moments as well, those guys. And they're kind of compared to me, I would say, someone who kind of accepts most answers. I try to play nice with people. If you give them the wrong answer, they'll let you know as well. Big up, Bobby K. Big up 3 Spurs boys. Love those guys.
Big up, boys.
Zoe in the house. Big up, Zoe. Absolute legend. Saying, best thing about this window for me is knowing there's a massive grin on Harry's face when he sees Richarlison, Basuma, Perisic at the airport. Oh, the vibes on that flight must be even just the class of the players walking onto that flight. You just look at, the flight sheet, Dave, and you're just like, geez, I mean, this is a squadron.
Look, at the end of the day, not only was it important we had a good transfer window for Conte, it was also integral to prove to Harry Kane that this club is going in a certain direction, that this club means serious business, so that he will sign his new contract. Now, look, I don't know anything, but look, for me, when I look at it, there's no reason for him not to sign on that dotted line, so maybe keep an eye out for that. That could very well happen this summer. Who knows? But look, I'm just glad we kept hold of the guy. I mean, I'm glad we didn't drop him because he didn't have pace. It's not an Olympic gold medal 500-meter hurdle. You know what I mean? It's a game of football, and that's what Harry Kane is. He's an absolute footballer. I'm just glad we were able to keep hold of him. And that's no small part down to Antonio Conte coming in here. I'm not fooled.
Love that. Big up, Zoe. Absolute legend. And Maddie as well shouted out Zoe's Twitter.
Maddie, do you know that on a Harry Kane contract? Could there potentially be for it?
There could be. It's definitely on Tottenham's radar. I'd be surprised if there hadn't been talks, but I wouldn't say anything is imminent. But I was just thinking, as you were saying that there, David, you're talking about maybe Kane signing the contract. I just had an idea in my mind. Imagine next week, Monday, Richarlison, Tuesday, Longley, Wednesday, Spence, Thursday, Kane, Friday, Conte. Imagine that. Imagine that. Like, never in a million years is that going to happen. But
I bet it would be. Actually, I think Kane and Conte would sign their contracts at the same time, where you kind of wrap arms, to trade glasses, for drinking. I bet that's what they would do. They just sign each other's contracts because they love each other that much, right?
They're writing with one hand, just making a love heart with the others. Oh.
Exactly. Big up Zoe, though. Absolute legend.
Really
Harris
appreciate
Army. Big up Zoe in the chat. Love Zoe.
Jamie
saying, yeah.
I just wanted to highlight this. And look, I'm not here to have a dig at Jamie. Look, everybody's well entitled to their opinions. I just want to give my opinion off the back of this. And look, it has been rumored that he has horrendous attitude problems. But that doesn't not seem to be the case whatsoever. This is a guy that, when a guy was being bullied in school, brought him to Everton training ground, let him play around with the first team players. This is a guy that has raised so much money for coronavirus victims and victims of other things. This is a guy that he gets together baskets for the homeless, especially out in Brazil and stuff like that. This is a good guy with a solid attitude off the pitch.
Yeah.
And look, Everton fans are gutted to let him go. In fact, they're saying he was their best player last year, and he's one of the only ones that actually cared about the club and what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Look, I get when you look at maybe some of the on-field things and the shit housery. I mean, there's the famous one of Romero mocking him when he was rolling around after a challenge from Romero. But this guy has a solid attitude. But I don't mind an angry footballer. Some people, just like Romero, need to be angry to play on the edge, and it makes them the player they are.
Yeah, really well
said. Let me know what you
David.
think, though, Jamie. Let me know what you think, my man.
I think the philanthropic, point that you made there, Dave, is really well said, and that is something that you have to, bring up with Richarlison. He's been very philanthropic, very generous, and is seen as, very, kind and generous soul outside of the football pitch. So well pointed out, Dave. William Kelly saying, Don Paratici, he's cooking. Oh, yeah. Big up, Matty. You're a credit to the Irish. You're a credit to us Irish. And big up, Davey and Jack Legends. We're back, baby. Big up, William Kelly. He's cooking, my man. And absolutely love, the bit of love for Matty as well there. He is, representing the Irish very well. Matizio Romano, like I say, William Kelly. Big up, my man.
Big up, William. Big up. I remember you were ready to know. You just so pissed off with the club. I told you to stick by it. Well, here we are today, William. We're back, baby. And you know what? We're back bigger and better than ever. And that's what I cannot wait about. You see the power shift in North London just by the signings. Arsenal signed a 17-year-old who's going to, again, need to get the parents to sign release forms to allow him to play. They signed Marquinhos. Okay, you can have him. We'll bring in Perisic. We bring in Fraser Forrester. Then you go into the midfield. They bring in Vieira. No one's ever heard of them. Half of them thought they were getting Patrick Vieira's son. We then bring in Basuma. It's like, shut your mouths. Then they bring in Gabriel Jesus, and then we just bring in Richarlison. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better and better. There's a power shift in North London taking place, and nobody's talking about it. Big up, William.
Big up, William. Last one here, Dave. Richard Black Dog. I think he's just pretty much asked, for
Can you smell what the dawn is cooking? You don't need to ask me twice, Jacko.
Big up, Richard. I think that's all you wanted, my man. Big up. Appreciate the support, brother. And he knows the dawn is cooking. He's just asking for it. Big up, Richard. Love that, my man. But we're going to move on to the rest of the news, everybody. We do want to honor Matty's time, who has taken the time out of his evening to come onto the channel and help answer some of these sort of news kind of dilemmas, or even, kind of explain, some of the cloudy news that we have, especially when it comes to Jed Spence. I would say good transition made by myself. According to Sky Sports Northeast England reporter Keith Downey saying Spurs are in advanced talks and close to signing Middlesbrough Jed Spence. There's a hope a deal can be done by the weekend. Understanding the fee is discussed to be around £15 million plus add-ons. Is Jed Spence, Matt, Tottenham's first choice, maybe right wing back this summer? Or do you think, he's just someone that they always just planned on signing? I mean, how do you see this situation? Is he their first choice?
Yeah, he seems to be, which is confusing to me. I wouldn't have thought that he was, with everything, Conte wants ready-made players, this and that. Spence is a very risky signing. He's not Premier League proven. He's only really had half a proper season, to be honest, with Forest. So I'm quite surprised about this one, but it does look as though he's the number one choice. We definitely have other targets, whether they're backup targets or again, if it's just Paratici negotiating for quite a few, I don't know. But Spence is definitely top of that list, and it's one that's very, very close to happening. Again, as always, I don't want to say it's absolutely going to happen because it's just impossible to tell. But yeah, he's going to be a good addition. He has a bit of that nasty streak in him, like Richarlison, and it's not a bad thing. You know, it can be a bad thing, but once it's kept in check and once it's used for the right reasons, it's an absolutely fantastic thing. You know, I think the three of us can sit here and agree that Dele Alli losing that nasty streak is probably the reason why he ended up going to Everton on a free transfer. You know, he kind of got that bit out of his game and lost that bite. Richarlison, Romero, Spence, Conte, they all have that, and it's adding a different dynamic to Tottenham both on and off the pitch this season, and it's a dynamic that we haven't really seen in this club before, and we're quickly becoming the most unlikable club in the Premier League, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. The idea that there's people waking up every morning just annoyed at our existence, you know, it's absolutely fantastic. You've Arsenal over there signing players.
Season hasn't started.
Fabio Vieira, who probably needed planning permission for his neck, and we're here just getting some of the most annoying players out there, the players that you hate when they're on the opposition team, but that you can't help but absolutely adore when they're playing for you. And I think Spence falls into that bracket. Now, look, that probably doesn't take into consideration his footballing ability, which is very good in some areas, leaves a lot to be desired in other areas. He's still young, naive. I think that'll be improved under Conte. But again, if he's Conte's number one choice, get him in.
The one thing I've noticed, Matty, is that his biggest asset or his biggest attribute in his game is probably that dribbling ability that he has. He is very, very good at skinning past his man. When you sort of think about it, Emerson is probably the worst in our whole team when it comes to that. Sassignon wasn't really too great either. Reggie, didn't really skin past too many players. And then Doherty, maybe you could say could have been the best, but, leaves, a lot to be desired. Is maybe that why, Spurs were looking at him, is that dribbling ability, that ball carrying ability?
Yeah, look, it's definitely one of the attributes he has. I was reading some articles kind of analysing him because, again, I'm not going to claim to be the Jed Spence expert or anything. But there's an article that was saying kind of what one thing he's struggling with is the kind of fluency between receiving the ball and then what he wants to do with it. So at the moment, it kind of seems to be two different motions where one, he receives the ball, then he tries to figure out what he's going to do, but kind of creating that fluency and making his mind up early, making his mind up before he gets the ball, which again, in a similar way to Longley, could just be learning how to read the game 5 or 10 seconds before it happens. That improvement needs to happen, but he's really good at getting past his man, getting down to that byline, sticking the ball into the box. And like you say, it is something that we're lacking on both sides of the defence.
It's just something he can offer differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we need. There's a lot that our wing backs lacked for a lot of last season, but having that ability to really properly beat a man is something that will be absolutely huge for us, because if we're playing that 3-4-3, a narrow front three, there's going to be a lot of space out there for the wing backs. Quite often they're going to be isolated one-on-one against opposition defenders, and if you're Jed Spence down the right and you beat a man and you look into the box, you have Son, Kane, Kulusevski or Richarlison, three of those. You have Bentancur or Basuma at the edge of the box. You have the opposite fullback coming in at the far end. You're going to be able to pick someone out. So being able to beat that man to get into that position with the way that we're going to be playing, like properly spreading the pitch really wide, that could be a game changer for us.
And, trifecta of questions here. Last one. Do you see us signing another right wing back, this summer? Is there maybe a chance that Paratici actually has another right wing back up his sleeve?
I doubt it. I kind of hoped at the start when his name was being thrown around very seriously, I kind of hoped that it would be 2 out, 2 in. But unless we sell 2, I can't see us bringing in 2. I mean, having 3 wing backs, it's the reason we released Serge Aurier last season. Well, one of the reasons. So yeah, I don't think there's any point in having 3, unless it's a player maybe like a Perisic, where he's an older player, a more experienced player, can be a mentor for Spence and whoever else, and then also be a utility player further up the pitch. Maybe then it happens, but aside from that, I can't see us getting Spence and Mela or Spence and Lamina and Dumfries or something like that.
Yeah. Dave, any of those questions, to you maybe popped out, maybe what do Spurs even see, in Jed Spence, or maybe the fact that, we could maybe sign another right wing back? Matt, I'm kind of in agreement. We probably won't, but what do you see, Dave? What do you see happening?
Yeah. But what I see happening is there's only 205 likes on this stream. There's 790 people watching. So what I see, first of all, is getting this stream to 500 likes. Everyone, just give it a love tap, smash it, abuse it. I don't care what you do. Just absolutely press off it. But look, when it comes to Jed Spence, look, I have seen reports where they have said it is Conte's or it is Tottenham's first choice for that position. Now, look, I find that hard to believe. I do think there is better out there than Jed Spence. But with this one, look, I don't think Matt Doherty's going anywhere, if I'm being honest. I think Conte likes the fact that Matt Doherty was nowhere near the team, went away, worked on his game, and took his opportunity. So I think he'll be kept around. Look, Emerson's agent came out and said that he's number one choice. He's been told that, and that he's not going anywhere. I'm not sure how true that is. But even if you keep the two of them, still bring in Jed Spence, because Jed Spence is a player that, okay, may not hit the ground running, but 3 months into the season, after a good preseason, understanding of the way Conte wants them to play, a couple of cup games mixed in with a couple of the under-23 games, this guy could come into the team and just absolutely explode. Look, with the rumored price of it being around £15 million, that we have absolutely nothing to lose. It's the going rate for someone that's young. Spent 10 million on Jack Clark, spent 20 million on Sessegnon. You know, it's the going rate for some of these sort of players. But with Jed Spence, Jack, this is a guy that he's fearless. We've seen him at Nottingham Forest. Yeah, bar the championship playoff final, because that was a bit different. They were winning. They were always going to sit back. But this guy is brave, Jack. He has what we don't have at that right wing back position, which is get on the ball and knock it by his man and go. I've seen him do that. Guys try and muscle him off the ball, and he's just strong. They can't do it. Now, look, where the question comes into, I think defensively, again, I think he's absolutely fine as well. I think where the question comes into it is maybe his end product. Yes, that can be improved. But someone at 20, 21, you know, I think Conte can absolutely mold this guy into being something really special. You also look at England. Over the last 5 years, they've produced umpteen amount of right backs who can play a right wing back as well. And they're very good at producing them. And for me, I think, why not get this one in? Why sit there and wait for this guy to flourish, be picked up somewhere else, and end up having to spend 50, 60 million on him in the future? Look, these deals can work out. Look at Robertson when it went to Liverpool. Played for Hull, went down to the Championship, went to Liverpool. Yeah, he didn't get in the team straight away, but they developed them, and look at him now, one of the best left backs, in world football. This guy Spence can definitely work out. It's 15 million. What have you got to lose? We're fucking loaded. Who cares? We're loaded. Get him in.
I kind of, hard to disagree with any of that.
Just quickly, this is a guy that Jonathan Woodgate absolutely loves as well, by the way. Jonathan Woodgate has very, very high praise for this guy.
Hard to disagree with any of that. The one thing I might just quickly say that he just brings differently is just, that dribbling ability, that ability to, take it past his man, and just be able to make things happen just from his own 2 feet. Whereas you couldn't really say that with, our other right wing backs, to be fair. I think Doherty just makes more clever movements. Doherty makes really clever passes, really kind of clever link-up play, but he's not like skinning past men or, being able to just make something out of nothing. And so it's good to have something a bit different. We are going to move on to the other bit of news, and actually has to do with Torino's Gleison Bremer. Sorry, Dave.
Nothing, Sam.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it was mic messed up in my ear or something. Sorry. Another center back Tottenham have been linked with this summer is Gleison Bremer, who has reportedly agreed a deal, though, with Inter Milan. But other reports are suggesting that Torino technical director Davide Vagnati will fly to London to hold talks with Spurs and Chelsea. And then the trail went cold. But now today, through an outlet, a Brazilian outlet called Flow Sport Club, has said and it's actually talking about what Bremer, was interviewed about. And he said, where will I go play? I'm talking about it with my agent. And at the moment, there's nothing defined. We are talking. I don't know if I will stay in Italy or go abroad. The only fundamental thing is to play in the next Champions League. And this is important to continue to grow. It will all be defined in the next few days, in the next few weeks. That's, 2 very different timelines. Are Tottenham in for Bremer, Matty? And is there a chance he could join us? Or is this just, a load of rubbish?
There's a chance. There's definitely a chance. There's definitely interest from Tottenham. I don't know how true it is about the agent coming to London to have talks with Tottenham and Chelsea. I think he has been spotted in London. I think he's been in London, but in terms of who he's actually met, there's other reports saying that he met Arsenal. But, if Bremer is saying how important Champions League football is to him, we know that's a complete lie. Because for anyone, if you have forgotten, Arsenal are Thursday night Europa League club. But he's a brilliant defender. I think Spurs would be mad if we weren't in some way interested. I think up until this point, it looked kind of certain that he was on his way to Inter Milan. Like you say, he has agreed personal terms with them. It's all about Inter just needing their money to be able to make that deal. And look, in the same breath, Inter reportedly needed to make a big sale by today. So they definitely haven't done that. You'd wonder what is actually going on at Inter Milan right now. But I don't know with those quotes from Bremer if he's either opening the door to move abroad or if he is just trying to force Inter Milan's hand and kind of saying to them, well, look, if you don't get it done, I do have interest from wherever. I am open to that move, and maybe trying to just force Inter into making that decision. But there's definitely interest from Tottenham. It would be a very difficult one to get done if we were going to actively pursue that. So I wouldn't get too excited about it just yet, but the door is certainly still open.
Containing the excitement for now. Yeah.
Just quickly on that, what I will say is, look, we were told Langley was a bit of a smokescreen, but the fact that this guy was reported, and you see fresh reports coming out today saying that the same guy from Torino is on his way over. That was put out a couple of weeks ago. Look, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just have I have a sneaky suspicion. The fact that it went all quiet, nothing really came out from it. Who knows? We all know how Paratici works. Basuma was kept on the DL. With Richarlison, they tried to flanker and look like we were going for Rafinha. Who knows? I wouldn't say get excited about it, but I wouldn't say the door's fully closed either.
Yeah, that could be right, Dave. Another really crazy rumor that also happened today, and I do kind of want Maddie's thoughts on this one, is the Tielemans, rumor that came out today. George Bannister tweeted today, Spurs are now actively exploring, as a classic phrase that we'll use, Spurs are now actively exploring a move for Tielemans as a midfield option, with someone else saying Winks is going the other way, and both parties are interested. Another Harry Winks kind of trade deal as well happening. How reliable is George Bannister maybe on this? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, no, George is good. George is very good and does have a lot of very good info. The first report in that came from a guy on Twitter called Guards who has good info as well. So he was the first to put that out there about that swap deal with Harry Winks and Leicester. If I was trying to compare this deal to give a bit of context on where I think it's at, I would compare it to the talks between Paratici and Roma for Zaniolo. I don't think there's anything advanced. I don't think there's anything progressed. I'm not sure how serious it is. It could just be simply testing the waters. And I think there have been links with Tielemans to Juventus in the past, so maybe it is just another player that Paratici has a personal love for. So, look, again, I don't mean to be bringing the bad news all the time, but I wouldn't get excited about this just yet. You also have to ask the question, do we really need another centre midfielder? I would think if we are going to get another centre mid in, it would be more of a number 10, more of an attacking man, which Tielemans can be, but it's probably not what he's best at. So having
is it because of the Arsenal links, perhaps, maybe, potentially, or is it, Yeah,
it could just be trying to. I mean, look, I think every one of us, regardless of whether you think Tielemans is a good footballer, we'd love to see him at Spurs just for the Arsenal meltdown. It'll be 4 players in 2 windows we've bought that they've been doing up compilations with the Welcome to Arsenal caption and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, this is, I'd say, very, very preliminary at the moment. I love Sim.
Quickly, big up Sim. Hopefully he's recovering well from the operation. Big up, my man. Great to see you in the chat.
Dave, any thoughts, on the Tielemans rumor today, at all, or is there really, I don't know. For me, it does seem something hard to believe in at the moment in time. Despite how reliable George Bannister may be, it seems hard to believe.
Yeah, look, he doesn't have a blue tick on Twitter, so I wasn't really too sure whether to believe it or not. But look, when it comes to Tielemans, he's a player I absolutely love. Watched him at 16 playing Europa League with Anderlecht at the time. Been following his career ever since. Was actually gutted we didn't sign him from Monaco and Leicester did. But as soon as I seen Harry Winks going the other way, it just ruined it for me. I just said, look, no point, just switch off. Not happening. I mean, whoever sanctions that deal in Leicester, if it ever was to happen, should lose their job and never, ever get a job in world football ever again. It's absolutely shocking. Look, for me, as soon as I seen that, I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be honest. I think we're just trying to put Harry Winks out there just to try and get some interest. There is no interest. And this is something I want to ask Matty as well before we go, but because I know we have one or two more things to touch on. But his outgoings, because you don't really hear anything. And I've said this all summer long. I think we're going to find it very, very hard to get interest in our players because of how bad they were and what was going on at Tottenham. And people inside football speak to each other. Managers speak to each other before they come and join the club, see what's going on there. And at that time, Tottenham's reputation was absolutely shocking. And people will know why, because of the likes of Ndombele, Lo Celso, Ali's, people like that. And we're going to struggle to get money for them. So as soon as I seen Winks was in it, just like, look, honestly, I wouldn't even send the guy on a beer run. I would not send him on a beer run, let alone come in thinking someone's going to come in and buy him.
Well, there you are. And we're going to move on maybe just fittingly to actually the Winks news. And, this is, maybe not a surprise probably to some people. According to iNews, Everton have decided against pursuing a move for Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Harry Winks. The report claims that Toffee's manager Frank Lampard conducted extensive due diligence on the 26-year-old and has now decided to look elsewhere to bolster his midfield options. Matt, do you have any, does this maybe sound right to you? Does this sound legitimate that maybe Everton are being very much turned off by Winks?
A club turning down Harry Winks sounds very legitimate to me. It sounds very real to
your
me.
Intelligence. Sorry to insult your
No, God,
intelligence.
Not at all. If anything, you oversold Harry Winks's attraction for another club. So. Yeah, that's probably the first good managerial decision Frank Lampard has made in his career. There's a few other reports that are saying something very similar. I think there were final talks between Tottenham and Everton today, so the Everton want a loan deal. Tottenham would have preferred a permanent deal, but within that, if it was a loan, Tottenham wanted an obligation, whereas Everton didn't want that. So it seems as though Tottenham are trying to make it permanent. Everton not really keen for that at the moment. But the thing is, there's a lot of teams interested in Harry Winks. There are at least a handful of Premier League teams who want to sign him, and I'm not surprised by that. I think Harry Winks does a very good job for certain teams. I've said a lot. I think he thrives in La Liga, where you just have so much time on the ball that he has his 20 minutes to get the ball, figure out what he's doing, remember which foot is his good foot, look around and remember who he's playing with, and then kind of go step by step like that. But I think a team like Palace or Fulham or Bournemouth, Leicester, maybe he's not good enough, but I think we find a home for Harry Winks this window, and I think we get 15 or 20 million pounds in doing it.
Wow,
just quickly,
that would be sensational.
I'm going to be quick on this because, look, I'll be honest. When I first woke up and seen it, I thought it was April Fool's. I really did. I mean, then when you're thirsty in the mornings, sometimes it takes you a while to think probably. So I had a drink of water, and then I'm thinking, it seems like Fat Frank has come off the bender of keeping everything up. Maybe just stop drinking this morning. He's realised he's seeing clearly. Oh, geez, what was I thinking, I mean, honestly, I had a good giggle at it. And I also looked at it, and I'm like, look, I don't have a problem with journalists whatsoever. I don't. I know. But I looked at that. I was like, come on, guys. I mean, come on. All the other news out there, Richarlison, Lenglet going on, Spence going on. We're talking about someone doing due diligence on Winks. You could have just came on and asked me. Come and watch my channel. I'll tell you everything you need to know. No need
Matt,
for due diligence.
No, but if an opposition manager asks, you have to say he's unbelievable.
I could not do it. I could not like it. I'm sorry, I couldn't like
put him in a lie detector test for that one. Dave's
play the clip with me with that volley during the Everton FA Cup game.
But Matty, do you think Winks will be included in some sort of swap deal, or do you think he'll be sold separately? This summer.
I think it's hard to tell really. I suppose maybe at this point it will probably be more likely that he's sold because we've brought in so many of our incomings. We've done a lot of that sort of business. So if I had to guess, I'd say he's probably sold or loaned out with an obligation. Yeah. Tielemans could be the last opportunity we have to get a swap deal again, if that is something that the club are actually seriously interested in.
And if I'm aware, Spurs don't want it a loan of any kind. They want a straight transfer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, look, it makes sense. I mean, it's not just Winks. I assume it's the same with Emerson if they are open to letting him go. The Ndombele and Lo Celso deals in January were fantastic, and I think played a big part in us getting top four. But I don't think we want to be in a situation every 6 months where we have to get these players off our books. Ideally, we just get them off, get them sorted, out permanently, and we can kind of move from there.
Love it. Well, that's all the questions I have for Matt Hayes here, Dave. Unless you have any more, I think we covered most of the news, here, and we're just going to put his channel into the chat. And, everybody can head on over. I'm pretty sure they know him by now, but you never know, actually. You never know. There could be someone in the chat who's been, maybe coming to us for the news when, in fact, they've had Matty Hayes, the Matizio Romano, like I said, the whole time, staring them in the face. So everybody check out Matty Hayes' channel. Just put it in the chat there for you guys.
Dave. I just want to I just want to keep Matty for maybe another 4 or 5 minutes if possible. So Matty, of course, Alistair Gold said, he's been saying that we should be expecting more signings. Is there any sort of names that you can give us or positions that we should be keeping an eye out and that you might see a bit of movement happening?
Obviously, left centre back and right wing back still the priority. I don't know outside of that if there's any particular position, because Tottenham, I think, like in every window we have our you're not wrong, Sim. We have our kind of set targets, and outside of that, I think that the phrase is always we'll explore any other opportunities that arise. I think Christian Eriksen was one of those. Tielemans could be one of those. I know Alistair Gold specified that for a striker, so maybe there's another attacker to come in this window. I know there was talks of Emmanuel Dennis attracting interest from a number of Premier League clubs. I think there's a lot of Tottenham fans that want him, but outside of left centre back and right wing back, who knows?
No, there's your answer, Dave. There's the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, sorry, I was just telling Stuart that he needs to record himself down in that point to Guinness and send it in just to become a fully fledged member. But yeah, look, Matty. I
hope Stuart's over 18, to be honest.
It'd be very interesting to see, if someone like a Bastoni or Gavardiol or something can maybe become a little bit available towards the end of the window, and that maybe, I would hope we're in a position to be able to do that. But Matty, in order to do that, do you think maybe the funds are starting to dry up now, and that will depend on outgoings? And what outgoings, is there anything close? Because I don't see there's nothing happening as far as I can see. But do you think there's anything close of any outgoings either?
On the first question, I don't think funds are close to being to drying up, because we drew down the first £100 million from that ENIC cash injection. So if you're looking at that, that will be the 50 upfront for Richarlison, and then 15 for Jed Spence, and then 6 for Lenglet. So that's not even half of it. You still have the remaining 25-30 million pounds from the initial amount that we've drawn down, and then the 50 million pounds that remains in that kitty. Whether it will be used in this window, we don't really know just yet, but that is still there, potentially still available to be used for transfers. So I wouldn't be getting too concerned by the funds at this point. In terms of outgoings, no, there's nothing close from what's in the media, at least. Bergwijn, I think we'd hoped at this point will be very, very close to joining Ajax. Harry Winks, we'd hoped he'd go to Everton. And Ndombele and Lo Celso, I think I'm very surprised that nothing has happened yet with Lo Celso to Villarreal, by the way. That's very, very surprising to me. Maybe there's something in the works for Pau Torres or Pervis Estupiñán, or maybe even Arnaut Danjuma. But yeah, there's nothing close for outgoings, and that really, really confuses me.
And yeah, look, I firmly believe it comes down to there not being any interest in them. I firmly believe it comes down to that. Ellie says it's Lenglet, not Longley. Sorry to make the correction. Look, Lenglet, Longley, tomato, potato, potato. It's all the one, Ellie. It really doesn't matter. It's all the one. It's all the one. But look, Matty, I actually probably sound a bit condescending saying this, but because everybody knows exactly who you are, what you do on YouTube. But just in case there's that one person, because look, sometimes there is. What exactly can people find coming up on your channel, Matty, and why should they get over there and smash the subscribe?
First of all, there's 800 people watching here. I can absolutely guarantee at least half of them have not a clue who I am. And to those 400 of you, I just talk transfers, to be honest. I absolutely adore every second of the transfer window. Part of me is actually kind of getting annoyed that we're getting our business done early, because I'll have 2 months of no content. But I'm definitely enjoying the positivity and the change around of what Tottenham are doing. I stream most nights, to be honest. And now I was off work this week, so I did a lot of streams. After next week, I'm off for another 2 weeks. I just do want to say I actually do work. I genuinely actually do something with my life. But yeah, there'll be a lot of streams coming up for all transfer based stuff. I'll be having some special guests on, hopefully getting Michael Bridge and Charlie Eccleshare on the channel in the coming weeks as well. So there's bound to be some top class content and people who actually know what they're talking about coming on to join me. So I'd appreciate any support we could have over there.
No, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, Matt. I just make sure before I let you go, there's no super chats there for you. Don't see any. So, Matty, look, we'll let you go. You're a very, very busy man. You were on Bob's this morning doing your own and coming on here. I want to say a massive thank you to you coming on, Matty. Absolute record numbers in this in a live stream for the Irish Hotspur, and that's no small part down to you. So I appreciate your time, Matty, and I'll see you again soon, brother.
My absolute pleasure.
Love you, man.
I love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, man. See you soon. Well, look, guys, we're going to keep going for another 5 minutes. Just a couple of super chats to get through. Maybe if you have any questions for myself and Jack, get them in the chat. Maybe we can answer a few before we go as well. But, guys, there's still 750 people watching. Before people drop out, just smash that like button. It's free. It's the thumbs up button there. And it's just a huge help for us in the YouTube algorithm as well. So that'd be absolutely awesome. Dark Song G says these signings are what Kane it's all he ever wanted for us. No, 100%. Look, Kane just wanted to win trophies, and he wanted to win them at Tottenham. He wants to try and do something at Tottenham. He wants to beat that Jimmy Greaves record. He wants that Champions League record. He wants that England record. And now that Conte has come in, because look, he was fine under Jose Mourinho, fine under Pochettino, and then we get Nuno, and all of a sudden he wants to leave. I mean, look, I don't blame him. I do not blame him. It's like me promising Jack, Jack, I'm going to bring you out for a good, roast chicken dinner, and then bringing him and getting him a Happy Meal, chicken nuggets and chips from the drive-thru. That's the downgrade in the sort of level of management. Kane could see what way it was going. So now that Conte's come in, Kane is very, very, very happy. Conte is very happy as well. And look, he's got to be delighted with the signings, and hopefully a new contract is on his way, Dark Song G.
There you are, Dark Song G.
Big
I definitely think he's happy. Like you said, Dark Sun G, imagine the plane, vibes that he's feeling, seeing all those class players for once, sitting next to him. Finally, my man. Top Gun Academy, becoming a new YouTube member. Big up, my man. I wasn't able to check which one it is. If it is the Flat Cap, welcome to the Flat Cap Army. If it is that fan show membership, we do have the fan show starting tomorrow, Top Gun. So you will be able to join us tomorrow for a fan show as well as Monday, my man. Big up, Top Gun. Appreciate the
Big
support.
Up Top Gun. Absolute legend.
Dark Sun G saying Ben White, Basuma, Ben White, or the Basuma transfer better than Ben White. Forster is better than Turner, and then Richarlison is better than Jesus. Paratici better than Tavares, and then that kid better than Spence. We are going to show Spurs are going to go ahead of the Gooners. Dave, he's basically just saying, every single player that we go for in the same position practically, from as Arsenal with Dave, we just outdo them every time. There are levels to these transfers. There's levels to this business.
I mean, Jack, I'll be honest with you. I just kind of expect it now. Look, I could see the change coming. People asked me before North London Derby, are you scared? Was not nervous one bit. I could see it. What Conte was doing, the players, we absolutely beat them into submission. And not only did we make them tap out, but once we tapped out, we brought in Heavy Dave, tagged him in, and let him drop a few people's elbows. We absolutely beat them royally up, Jack. And they have not recovered. And as long as that fucking Lego head and I hope he does stay in charge, but as long as he stays there, that's why you're seeing a 17-year-old Marquinhos coming in. That's why you're seeing a Vieira come in. That's why you're seeing a Gabriel Jesus come in instead of someone like Richarlison who can actually lead the line. Gooners are finished. There's a power shift in North London and nobody's talking about it. And they won't talk about it until you see us accelerate past them next season. But you know me, Jack, I like to go in early on things. And look, for me, I can already see that changing. And the signings we're making are levels above them. Our management is levels above them. Our coaching and the regime in and around the training ground, like for instance, Conte, not only has he banned ketchup, mayonnaise, brown sauce, he's also banned sandwiches after training. It's now fruit and fruit juice, no fizzy drinks. He instructed the chefs not to cook with any sort of fatty oils or anything like that. Our regime is much better than theirs. Our stadium is better than theirs, bigger than theirs as well. Their little shitty toilet bowl, and at the end of the day, this club is going in one direction and theirs is going in another, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm loving life,
all
Jack.
For it too, Dave. I really am all for it.
They only made up the 4 places in the league last season because they had no Europe and were playing 1 game a week. That's the only reason. Now that they have Europe and their squad will be stretched, them kids won't be able to handle demands. And you will see Arsenal go down that league table this season.
They have no leaders in there, Dark Sun G. Absolutely none. And there's just no players that, just take the game by the scruff of the neck. But when I look at that as well, we honestly have some real ballers in there. And we're just looking at Ben Shite. Honestly, Dark Sun G, it's a bit pathetic, my man. And also Edu versus Paratici, just 2 different levels of directors of football. Yeah. Edu versus Paratici and Dark Sun G. I don't even need to tell you that, my man. Big up, brother. Appreciate the support.
Legend.
William Kelly saying, haha, Mr. Winky is here to stay. I think, this is kind of the fear, William, is that a lot of people feel like Winky is a lot harder sell than others, think. Some people feel like, we'll have no problem, offloading Winky. It's just, which one wants to take him. I feel like Dave is kind of more in the belief that, we're going to find it a lot harder to get rid of Winks than people realize. And I sort of subscribe to that as well, because if we are expecting around 15 to 20 million for him, I think we're going to be surely disappointed. If we're willing to let go of him for 5 million, 7 million, 8 million, then I could see them, probably, getting some suitors. But I'll be honest, like, at 15, 20 million, I just don't see it happening. I just really don't see that happening. I don't see anyone willing to pay that much for Harry Winks, because like you said, Dave, once they do their due diligence or just watch him play football, they'll realize he's nowhere near worth that amount.
No, look, Jack, I'm not being funny, right? What manager's going to stand there and say, I've got problems in midfield, Harry Winks is my answer? If they do, I question their management skills, to be honest with you. Look, Harry Winks is too weak. He's not progressive enough on the pass. He gets his pocket picked too easily. And he's just not brave. And that's his biggest problem, Jack, is he doesn't have a set of cojones. If he did, he'd get on that ball, turn, spray it 30, 40 years. He has the ability inside of him. He's just too weak. He's just not brave enough. And look, I keep saying this. What manager is looking at him to come in and bolster or make a difference in their midfield? Nobody. We had a collective group of players here who were getting managers sacked. Their performances on the pitch were absolutely atrocious. We were losing games to NS Mora, Vitesse, fucking nearly just scraping past teams like Morecambe. Should never have happened. What teams are going to want to come in for these players? None. There's a reason why we had to loan out the Celso in January, because nobody wants to spend the cash on them, because especially now with cash being tight and a lot of clubs learning the lessons over the coronavirus pandemic, they're not just going to willy-nilly splash 25, 30, 40 million on these guys anymore and take that risk. No one's going to do it with Ronald McDonald, Lord of the French Fries. Absolutely nobody. Nobody's going to spend that big money on Harry Winks. There's a reason why Ndombele went out on loan. He went to Lyon. It didn't work. That's going to put even more clubs off spending the money off him. Dele Alli, we had to practically let go for free. We've seen it with Serge Aurier. Nobody would bite. We left it to deadline day. Okay, rip up his contract. We acclimatized a lot of players here under Steve Hitchen for big money that nobody wants. It's that simple. We're going to find it hard to sell.
The unsellables. Yeah, the unsellables is how you would put it. William Kelly, we're going to find it a lot harder than I think people think to get rid of that guy, especially for the price tags that we want. And I think you two probably agree with me. We're going to get to, I think, a few more questions and a few more comments. But I think we first, Dave, have a message, from our sponsors over at Manscaped here, everybody. And then we're going to get to the rest of the questions that you guys have for us in the chat. Don't you worry. But we did want to get a message from our sponsors over at Manscaped. It is the end of the month as well. And, we did have the Father's Day, kind of gift package for you guys, be able to, help out the outlet and whatnot. But now we're going to plug the boxers over at Manscaped. And Dave, it is sweaty sack summer. It is fastly approaching, and it's time for you to prioritize the comfort for your crotch. That's why the kings of crotch comfort, Manscaped, has spent 2 years designing the most comfortable boxer briefs out there. I've had the honor of testing these out myself, Dave. I must say they're actually probably my favorite boxers in the whole, in the whole drawer, in the whole, kind of dresser. It's actually probably the first ones I use each week. I actually feel like I need maybe a second pair, if I'm going to be honest, because, when you wear them first, you kind of feel like you never own them. They're immediately in the laundry hamper. Absolutely love, Dave, the boxers. And they're actually even, trademarked as the jewel pouch, Dave, over at Manscaped. And it's serious when they're calling it the jewel pouch, because we take the jewels very seriously over here on the Irish Hotspur, Dave. And I think it's time that the Harris Army, as well as the Irish Hotspur Army, invest in their family jewels. So maybe let that bulge breathe. Let the nuts, go to work, Dave. And get 20% off plus free shipping using that code FLATCAP at manscaped.com.
Yeah, look, Jack, I mean, at the end of the day, if I went, I was out on a date with the missus there last week, she seen that Manscaped just across the band of the boxers, and she looked at it, she thought it was a billboard for Pleasure Town, Jack. She was absolutely buzzing. Outside of the of just ball trimming, though, Jack, they do actually offer these these boxers. I call them the tie slappers, Jack. They're very, very comfortable, nice and huggy as well. very, very comfy. And the
feel like you could
micro,
play a game of football almost in them, Dave. In fact, they actually feel, that kind of breathable, but, they feel a bit athletic, I would say, at the same time, if you know what I mean by that, kind of, the right kind of, feel where it's not, too
yeah.
stuck to you, but, you're able to move around. I feel like you could probably have a five-a-side game in them.
No, you definitely could, Jack. Very, very comfy. But also that jewel pouch that you mentioned, it's a pouch that is designed to absolutely cradle your boys, Jack. And they just basically have their own special place. It's like an old person when they take out the dentures. Has its own special place in the glass. And that's basically what this jewel pouch is for. It's to protect your bad boys. We've all been in a game where you've got one in the nuts. It's painful. The jewel pouch will definitely help with that sort of protection. But look, Jack, what I will say to people is there is a call to action required, and that is for everybody to get over to Manscaped and use the code FLATCAP, get your 20% off plus free shipping.
With that code FLATCAP over at manscaped.com from us at the Irish Hotspur. And once the boxers touch your sack, you'll never go back. That's what they like to say over at Manscaped. Thank you, Manscaped, for sponsoring this episode of the Irish Hotspur, this Tottenham news evening. But we are going to get to the rest of the questions for tonight, everybody. And we are going to basically, just wrap up the rest of the show here. And, if you guys have any sort of, questions for us, maybe about the news, maybe about, maybe what the future sort of looks like in the next 2 weeks, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll put them up on screen as we're sort of wrapping up. But first, I think we had a super chat from Jerome saying Danny Rose would have been so happy since he would not have to Google these players. Absolutely, Jerome. Absolutely, Jerome. That's honestly Danny Rose's transfer policy, is that if he has to Google them, he just doesn't want them. And to be fair, when you have all this money, to work with, Jerome, that probably should be our transfer policy, is once you have more money to work with, there's no need to, to be Googling up players and whatnot. Just bring the ones that are at the top of your head, bring the best one, in each position. Love that, Jerome.
Yeah, look, Danny Rose was only really saying what the fans were thinking. Who's this fucking guy? Get the mobile phone out. Let's have a look. Whereas now we're bringing in players that we've seen. We know a lot about. We know exactly what they can offer. And look, Danny Rose was right. Danny Rose was right. We've got an unbelievable team that's being put together. We're challenging for, league titles and cups and stuff. Yes, we fell short, but we're challenging for them. And we're having to Google half of the signings. Danny Rose was absolutely spot on. I had no problem with him saying that, to be honest.
No, neither do I. Love that, Jerome. Big up, my man. Just a question here. Just quickly, HIT becoming a new member. Big up, my man. Let me check which one it is. Just making sure. Just give me a moment here. And he's become a Flat Cap member. He already was a member of the Flat Cap Army. Big up, HIT. Absolute legend. Big up, Young Putty.
Big up, my man. Absolute legend. Big up, Young Putty. Absolutely love that name as well. King Huddle says, Jacko and Big Dave, who was your choice as creative midfielder? We need to address this, in my opinion.
I can go first if you want, Dave.
Yeah. Go on. Go on. Yeah.
I don't know. I have a huge list just today because I went on, Kieran's channel. We were going to chat about creative midfielders. I have, maybe I'll just list off a bunch of them to you, King Huddle, because I've said this to you before. I think you've probably heard me say this. I feel like there's a plethora of creative midfielders to choose from. It's just which one sort of will accept that role, which one, will fit best into Conte's team. I'm not really too aware, really too sure yet. I can't say confidently which one is the best choices. I think we all know Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is the one that everybody wants. Whether that's going to happen is another story. And I'll stress that again. Sergej is certainly the priority, but I just don't see it happening. I did hear that maybe Rodrigo de Paul is potentially not happy over at Atletico. He only just moved there, though. But when he was at Udinese, King Huddle, that guy was picking out passes better than almost anybody in Europe and had one of the best seasons as sort of a creative midfielder in that team. And I think Dave was even pretty impressed, if I'm not mistaken, by that guy's passing range. And he would be able to pick apart, a low, deep lying sort of team with that guy's passing range. Love DePaul. Recently, I kind of took a look at Antonin Barak. He would be like a really, really cheap, sort of option, from, Hellas Verona. I don't really know, though, about that one because it'd just be a bit too cheap. And I think we should shoot a lot higher than that, to be fair. Maybe if you wanted to fill the homegrown, sort of, quota, Dave, you could take a look at Eberiche Eze. I don't know how available he is, but he came off of that huge injury And maybe Crystal Palace, they're not so sure, maybe they might take, like a 40 million euro, 50 million euro sort of kind of fee. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I do really rate Eberechi Eze since he's come into the Premier League. He's just so beautiful to watch. And he would be sort of like a creative midfielder, can also kind of play as kind of a left winger, maybe if you need as well, that can kind of cut inside. Last one, I guess we sort of have looked at Lavro Meyer, as well, in the past, but he's an exceptional player. But maybe the ones that I would shoot to you right away, King Hoddle, or Eberechi Eze, just to maybe do the homegrown quota, because we do have to think about that a lot. And then honestly, just because I love him so much, Rodrigo de Paul.
Interesting. I actually like the look of that. I'll say, from Crystal Palace. I know he plays a bit out wide, but I look at him. I think if you can mold him to play in the middle, he'd be absolutely unbelievable. Look, attacking midfielders for me. Good question. Look, Maddison's all right. I personally, I think he's a little bit overrated. Maddison's all right, but for me, I'll be honest with you, I really like the look of someone like Szoboszlai. I really like the look of him.
That would be crazy.
He would be absolutely unbelievable. Good passing, great shots. I think he would be a good one. King Hoddle, that'd be good. But big up, my man. Really appreciate the question.
The new Puskas Szoboszlai is. There you are, my man.
That would be nice.
Ellie saying, you love your burgers and your chips, David, but how do they fare with a curry or a roast dinner with all the trimmings?
Look, my favorite dinner of the year, Ellie, is a Christmas dinner. You get all the meats, you get the Yorkshire puddings, cauliflower cheese, veg, mashed potato, roast potato, stuffing, you name it, it's on that plate, Ellie. And for me, I think my favorite dinner of the year is Christmas dinner. I also have chips with that, believe it or not. I can't help it, but I've got to. Curry, I have rice and chips with it anyway. And I really am a sucker for a curry. I love a good curry, Ellie. In fact, I love them that much. I even like putting a bit of that mango chutney on it, just to give it that extra bit of sizzle. It's absolutely lovely. I love burger and chips, but look, I just love chips, Ellie. I'll have chips with everything. But for me, roast dinner with chips. And then after that, then a curry with chips.
Like that, Dave. Like that answer. For me, if it were a special occasion sort of dinner, or like a holiday sort of dinner, I do like a good Thanksgiving. I never complain about Thanksgiving. Very, very easy holiday to do. John Carter saying, guys, in your opinion, who do you rate as a better forward, Luis Diaz or Richarlison? If I were to answer, Luis Diaz is better left winger, but he doesn't play striker, and he really can't even play right wing. Like, he essentially is just like a really, really amazing left winger. So when you kind of think about it, Richarlison is a bit more adaptable, a bit more versatile. So maybe if you were to judge them as left wingers, I would probably say Luis Diaz is better. But if you were to judge Luis Diaz as a striker versus Richarlison is then way better as a striker.
Yeah, look, I think, if I'm being honest, I think Luis Diaz is probably a better player. But like Jack says, you put Richarlison up front over Luis Diaz, but you'd probably put Luis Diaz out wide over Richarlison. But look, I think John Carter, I think we've got a very good player in Richarlison, and I'm absolutely buzzing with it, my man. Big yourself up, lad. Big yourself up, John Carter. Who else have we got here? Where are they gone? I think they're gone, are they? No, here they are.
Last one from Ben Elliott.
Yeah, Ben Elliott. He says, what did he say? 1 second. I don't know where it's gone. Sorry, Ben. Give me a second. There it is.
On Richarlison, do we not think he's similar to Lautaro? Aggressive, grafter, makes good runs, but cheaper and Premier League proven. Spence is Victor Moses 2.0 with Conte. I kind of like that take, Ben Elliott. That's the right mentality. He'll turn him into a better Victor Moses. I don't really know if Richarlison is even that similar to a Lautaro Martinez, just because they'll probably make similar runs in behind. They do work really hard, when it comes to the pressing game and whatnot. That is actually a good point. I just feel like they just have such different body types as players that I think it'd be hard to say that they're similar, Dave, because Richarlison at the end of the day is a big guy, and he can, sort of like, power pass players. Like Lautaro has a very kind of quick, burst of acceleration, in certain moments, where I feel like Richarlison's one of those guys where once he gets running, once he gets going, he really can't like step in front of him. He's just going to run you over, sort of kind of player, kind of like Kulusevski. Like once he gets going, he'll kind of run you over. sort of player. I don't really know if Lautaro is similar in that regard, but I actually see what he means with how hard they work, with the runs they make him behind and whatnot. So he is onto something, to be fair.
Yeah, they'd be similar enough. I just think Richarlison is bigger and stronger. But yeah, I think you're right here, Ben. I think they probably would be similar enough. Look, some would say maybe Lautaro is probably a bit better. I wouldn't, to be honest with you. I wouldn't. I'm very happy with Richarlison, but I do think they're very similar, my man. Big up Ben Elliott. Big up Young Putty. Really appreciate that, my man. Really appreciate the kind words. You are way, way, way too kind, lad.
Love you,
way
my
too
man.
kind. Just take a couple more of these and then we'll bounce out of here. Stuart Beezer says, "What's your favorite restaurant, Dave?" I mean, look, if we're talking about like the likes of, I know they're not really restaurants, but if we're going off the likes of the ones that you see everywhere, it's like Burger King, McDonald's, Abracadabra, or something like that. I would probably go with Burger King, McDonald's, then somewhere like Abracadabra. But in general, there's a restaurant in Newbridge called Judge Right Beans, and they do amazing dinners. Very, very good. There's another one out by where my missus' mother lives called Dowland's. Closed down now, but my God, the roast dinners out of there. Again, everything with a side of chips, but they were unbelievable. Jack, what's your favorite restaurant?
I do like a good Chick-fil-A over here in the U.S. I'm a bit guilty of, supporting them. Cane's. I also really like Cane's fried chicken. When it comes to like burgers and whatnot, I'll be honest, Dave, not as big of a fan of some of the American, kind of big market ones. Probably Wendy's is maybe Wendy's is my favorite of them. Sure. Like the big ones. I do like Shake Shack. It's a bit overrated, but I do like Shake Shack. That's what I would say, everybody. Wendy's, of all the big American ones, it's Wendy's for me. But then Chick-fil-A, if you know about it. Chick-fil-A, if you know about it.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Wisdom says, who else would we need to sign for you guys to rate the transfer window 10 out of 10? Look, this is providing that Richarlison's done, so we don't need to say providing he gets done. That's done. Lenglet's due in. Spence is due in. Oh, look, I would say
creative midfielder.
Bastoni,
creative midfielder needs to be done. Yeah,
I'm not sure it does though, Jack. I think. Look, 4 midfielders going in, I think is fine. For me, I think a Bastoni or a Bremer coming in. I think you could definitely get there calling this a 10 out of 10. But Jack, I mean, what's your opinions? I mean, you could disagree with me.
We need to sign a Bergwijn replacement, Wisdom, because I just feel like we need 6 forwards. I don't see us getting away with Lucas and Richarlison. Yeah, that's a fair point. But I mean, is Paratici then going to be, not playing left wing back? You have to ask yourself that, because is Sessegnon going to be the starting left wing back? You kind of wonder in that situation. I feel like we should go after another winger, or maybe even like another striker, perhaps. Who knows, even of some kind. Maybe just get a big man that occasionally plays. But yeah, I feel like you have to get another center back, someone that can actually play through the middle. Also, maybe be able to play probably the other positions too. You could go after a Pau Torres, go after an Ndika. You could go after pretty much anybody. I think a lot of us would be satisfied with Bremer, Ndika. Most would be satisfied, I think, with Pau Torres. So yeah, probably that. I would say creative midfielder, another winger, center back. How could you not complain?
She's not asking for much at all, Jack. Jack's not asking for much for all. More demanding than I am. Love that. Love that. And Philo123 Koi says, all I say as a CRM, for me, great show. Again, big up. Yeah, look, I really like this guy. I think he's very quick on the ball, very nifty on the ball as well, very quick, good crosses into the box. I really like this player. I really, really like him. I watched him for Palace a few times. And for me, I think he's better at his age than what Zaha was at that age, in my opinion. And I really, really do like this guy, Philo. And look, I wouldn't be opposed to maybe going and getting someone like him in next season. I really wouldn't. In fairness, look, I think Patrick Vieira's done well with the likes of Zaha, Olise, Eze, and stuff like that. He's got them playing some good football going forward, and I think Olise has been a big part of that. So I would like him in. But big up, Philo, my man. Really, really do appreciate the support. But look, I think we'll end it there, Jacko, because I do have some food. There's some chips waiting for me. And I'm getting hungry. But look, I mean, Jack, plug the flat cap before we head out, my man.
Everybody, please. The Clement Lenglet scout report has just come out. The Richarlison scout report has just come out. To be fair, the Irish Hotspur has its own really good Richarlison scout report out there. So I would check out the Irish Hotspurs that was released nice and early. But Flatcap does have its own scout report for Richarlison out and for Clement Lenglet, breaking down all of the stats of those players, putting a lot of context into a lot of those stats, kind of explaining, with Clement Lenglet, why they may be so high, maybe a bit inflated, and probably something you should take with a bit of a pinch of salt. Whereas like with Richarlison, when you look at his stats, you can kind of, see what happens when you play for a Rafa Benitez and a Frank Lampard team all season with no backup striker like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin to help you out. So, it's a very fun, video where it's basically just me sort of explaining all their stats. And, I'm probably talking about what they bring to Spurs as well. So please check them out. They're on mute. Sorry, Dave.
Everybody do get over to the Flat Cap and check it out. It's doing bits this summer, guys, and you want to be a part of it. So get over there, smash that subscribe button. And then, Jack, just quickly, Ken Wiggle, hopefully I got that right. He wants to know where you're from, Jack.
I'm over in Brooklyn, my man. I'm over in Brooklyn. My sister lives in Philly as well. So big up, Ken.
Nah, big up, guys. And everybody as well, if you haven't, get over and check out Bobby K's stream with these two sons called the Three Spurs Boys. Had Ramon Vega on. We all know how crazy that fucker was, so it's a good one to get over there and have a look at. Just quickly, I'll just make sure there's nobody else streaming this evening that we can maybe send you over if you are hungry or thirsty for more content. And no, I do not see anybody going. So look, guys, I think we'll leave it there. A lot of people saying they can't wait to see us back here tomorrow. Well, guys, tomorrow is the day where you can come on and have your say on all the news. Me and Jack will go through the news, put the link out, and get you guys to come on and have your say. So hopefully we see you all there. I want to say a massive thank you to Jack and Matty for today. I want to say a massive thank you to all you guys out there. Record numbers viewing in today, 840, before we kind of went into, me eating chips and me loving chips, but 840 people in-house. Absolutely incredible. I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for smashing that like button, the subscribe button, and getting the super chats in and helping support this channel on its growth. Hopefully we can keep going, keep getting your support, and hopefully you can keep enjoying our streams. We do promise you that we are looking to get better coming into the new season with better content and maybe some better way of putting content out there. But most importantly, guys, if you want to interact with us, just get in the comment section. Get your comments in there, and one of myself or Jack will be in there. As you can see, I was in there today responding to all the comments and all the posts, all the videos, everybody on YouTube. So, guys, feel free to get them in. But as always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust. And this club is on the up, baby. Back bigger and better than ever. And watching Tottenham on a Wednesday night. You play Thursday because you're fucking shy. Oh, what a feeling. What a night. Come on,
what a night. Big